males playing.
All right, so I'm looking at this video here. It is from a Black conservative perspective, and it is rugby coach calls for ban on transgender players after one dominates and injures 3 high school girls. So ultimately, what's happened is this transgender person, a guy, says that he's a girl, and he goes onto a women's rugby team, goes into the game, and through the course of the game, ultimately injured 3 high school girls on the opposing team. The coach came out and he complained about a number of things. So if you go back, you can listen to sort of what the whole, if you go to this video, then go through it, you can listen to everything that the coach says. But ultimately, we're coming here and we're going to look at around 3 minutes and 30. So we can see that the coach says it's purely a safety issue when we discuss transgender males. And then they go on to say transgender males playing female sports at a youth level particularly. So they're saying it's primarily because of safety, right? But that's wrong. That's wrong. It's not primarily because of safety that it's wrong. It's wrong because it's female sports and a male is playing. That is ultimately what is wrong, because it is a male going into the female area and playing sports with females when it should be females. It's not a gender neutral, or it's not an open league. It's a women's rugby team. So only women or girls should be allowed on that team. Now, it's 7.5 minutes. Here's what he says, and we're going to listen to him, and I'm going to slow it down because I've been listening to this at 1.75, so we'll just slow it down.
Now, the answer to this question in regards to solving this problem is easy. We all know what it is. All the girls got to do is just refuse to play. All I do is just say, hey, we're not playing. If we have to compete against biological boys, we simply will not play.
Okay, so here's what I hear. I hear this a lot. A lot of people come out and they say, well, you know what? This is just plain wrong. And the women, the girls, they should just refuse to play. And I actually am sympathetic to that argument, except for one thing. As far as I'm concerned, that's not enough. It's not enough for girls and women to just sit there and say, we can't have this guy coming into our sport and playing it. It's not fair. So we're just not going to play. And why do I think that's not good enough? Well, here's why. Because for decades now, decades and decades, we've had all the feminists, and by feminists, I generally mean female supremacists, forcing and shoehorning and cajoling and haranguing and suing their way into male spaces, into male clubs, into the Boy Scouts, into the men's only fitness places, the male gyms, into anything that is males only or boys only or masculine spaces. They have forced their way in. They've gotten that toe in the door, and then they just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. And yet, as I did a search, I go, let's look for ladies only fitness. Oh, look, here's one that men cannot go into. So to me, I'm sorry, I don't buy into it that they just say now they need to step back and say, we're not going to play and we're not going to take part unless you let us women have our women only spaces. I'm sorry, I have no sympathy. This is a problem that you have brought upon yourself. So when you will gain my sympathy, and let's be clear, they don't give a crap about my sympathy. They don't know who I am, and they don't care if they have my support or not. But unless they come out and say, we were wrong, men deserve their own spaces for men, and women deserve their own spaces for women, and boys the same thing, and girls the same thing. There should be areas where boys and men can hang out with boys and men, and girls and women can hang out with girls and women. Unless they acknowledge that this problem is a problem of their making, and it's one that is fundamentally against what human beings need, because men and women need time with just men or just women. So unless they come around and say, you know what, we were wrong. We're now getting the fruits of our labors. We're getting what we have asked for, and we don't like it. We made a mistake. We need to go back and we need to allow men's only areas and women's only areas. And we're not going to shoehorn our way in, and we're not going to force it. And this isn't because I hate women. This isn't because I think that women have no place or that men and women should never have combined things. I don't know why there's freaking separate leagues for male and female bowlers. To me, that as a sport isn't affected by the biology. I could be totally wrong on that, but certain things don't make sense to me. But whatever, as far as why there's a division when it doesn't necessarily have to do with the physicality. But ultimately, the reality is if we have a sport that is for a men's league or a women's league, it should be allowed to be men's or women's. There you go. That's what it should be. And like I say, until and unless they come around and they say that these areas, the fact is that we need to have single gender spaces. They need to be legal. They need to be allowed. I will not support them in these efforts. And until that time, I will say, go get them, trans women, trans men, whatever they are. If there's a man that wants to say he's a woman, and I've been told for years that trans women are women, and that we need to smash the patriarchy by allowing the transgender people to be treated just like every other woman. Well, I'm sorry. That's the fruits of your label. That's what you have asked for. It's what you have demanded. And now that you're getting it and you don't like it, well, tough beans. I'm sorry. I don't care. And I say, anybody that wants to say, you know what? I think I'm a girl. Even if it's just because they can't compete with the men. Fair enough. You've set the rules, and that person has every right now to go into that league and absolutely dominate. That's the reality.